Greetings all, greetings all. Welcome to the One Night Your Podcast. One night your one people, one night your one people. Share. Let me crack these mics. Stan.
Yep, I'm here.
In the building.
Yes, I'm in the
Kim,
building.
you in the building?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So share the show. Let people know where you're from. Let's do a check-in. Give us that development if you're in NYCHA. Give us that borough. Give us that city. Give us that state. Give us that country, okay?
Yep.
All right.
Worldwide.
Sorry for us being a little tardy, but the subways and everything is a bit crazy today. So, but I had the guests with us today, so we made it happen. We made it happen.
Yep.
All right. So once again, welcome to the One Night Your Podcast. We are in the building. We have a phenomenal show for you today. The return of Kim Tyre. She is in the building. She is in the house. Money Mike is exiting the building. Our engineer. We miss you, bro, but thank you. Okay, that's right. And we have our intern here in the house. So we about to jump into this show. So like we said, we're sorry for the tardiness, but you know how things happen, and it's just one of those days. But here we're starting. We're going to give you a full hour like we normally do. We're not going to shortchange our guests. So please share the show. Click like. Let people know about One Night Your. So as you all know, I'm Saundrea Coleman. I'm one of the co-founders and co-hosts of the One Night Your Podcast. Also a co-founder of Homes Isaacs Coalition, where we work with residents locally in Isaac and Homes and on public housing and not. We really want to help people. So my week was busy and blessed. I don't know, I'm kind of scared of messing with this. Should have brought it down ahead of time. I'm not as high up as the guys.
Yep.
So my week was busy and blessed. The Homes Isaac Coalition, we held the first monthly meeting in a very long time, and it was very good. It was we had maybe about 15 people, but that's okay. That's a start. And it was a really good meeting. So we're going to be meeting once a month. We keep that going. The first Wednesday of every month, with the exception of when Build a Block, that's NCOs come in and they talk about issues in public housing. They come out quarterly. So we won't meet on that Wednesday, but we'll either do that Monday or Tuesday, that first Monday or Tuesday of the month. So we're looking forward to that. We're looking to do some RAD and Preservation Trust teach-ins to really educate people about privatization that is not too familiar, because every time there's an erection in public housing, something's being built, the first thing people think is, oh, they done sold the buildings, or they done did this, or they done did that. Even under RAD, people think that NYCHA sold, and that's not the case. So we want to really educate and empower the residents. And I believe in educating and empowering people that they get so good that they can take over things that I do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because leaders build leaders, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So with that said, I think that's really I got to talk about. Let me jump to Stan and hear about how his week was. How was it? How was your week?
Well, I'm a little frustrated. We see the migrants coming to New York, and I know we can't blame Eric for that. They're being sent without us asking them to come. But what it does show is that our homeless system is not what it should be, and it hasn't been for quite some time. So it's being exposed now, because we haven't built any real affordable housing. We haven't built any permanent housing. We're not prepared, So as this crisis happens and we call for a state of emergency, we've been in one for quite some time anyway with the homeless issue, So I'm watching that and observing and want to see how all that's going to play out. But we need to do something different. We need to build real affordable housing for our people, so we won't be going through this homeless crisis that we're going through right now. So I'm definitely paying attention to that. And I'm having some frustrations in Ravenswood. I mentioned before, I'm a resident who I'm not going to mention her name because she's going to come on the show at some point. And she's supposed to be moved out. You know, and she was not moved out still yet. I mean, so it's amazing how incompetent the Ravenswood management office is. They have no clue. How is this resident going to move out and the management office does not know, unaware of it, you know, unprepared for it, and it's a shame. You know, so I got to get back involved with it again with this resident and call, I believe, on Tuesday to find out where we are. You know, while she still lives with lead in her apartment. Hasn't been taken care of. You know, this has been dragging on now we in the third or fourth week, you know, since this whole thing began, you know. So this is just an example, just one example of what residents go through. If she's going through it, there's hundreds of others going through the exact same thing. And it's infuriating, you know, to have so many moving parts you got to call to get one thing done. And this part don't know what that part's doing. It's like 3 people screwing the light bulb, you know, and the light bulb never gets screwed in. And then 3 people are sitting around trying to figure out what's going on. So it's just too much. And I know we have a guest who's going to speak to some of those same issues. It's just so much coordination to get the most simplest things done. And it's infuriating. So I just want to say again to all NYCHA residents who are going through it, keep your head up. You know, I see what you go through. I know Saundrea sees it. Other activists see it. And it's just a lot, you know, but don't give up the fight. You know, I saw on the board of Just Fix. So anybody watching this show today, if you have a complaint or an issue, feel free to reach out to us. We can submit a letter of complaint for you, you know, to make sure those issues get addressed. Do not suffer in silence, you know. So please reach out to us and let us help you if you have any issues with repairs in your apartment.
Okay. So I just want to touch on something you said, so we can have our viewers have clarity. But hey, Esther, I see you in the building. Esther from Towers. Good to see you in the building. We are a sanctuary city.
Right.
You know that. So I just want to make sure you're not, because it's okay for people to come here.
Right. No, I'm not. I'm not. No,
right.
no, no, no. I'm not.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not saying Eric.
Right.
I'm not mad at him for that.
Right.
Right.
No,
not at
but
all.
I just want to make that
Right.
clear, because the way it sounded, somebody may pick it up in a way that you are against. You know what I mean? That's not
No, absolutely not.
So
I mean, I think it's a shame that the migrants are being treated this way, like a political football instead of being people, you know, being shipped around to make a political point with these Republicans. So that's horrible that they're going through that. And
I just want you to clean
right.
it,
And for New York, we should be open.
We are sanctuary
right.
city,
Absolutely.
right.
But we got to fix our homeless system, you know, because if it wasn't like it is, we'd probably be able to better handle this problem or this issue. You know, but the fact that we have a broken system, right? We have a crisis already, and now we have another crisis, right?
But we are welcome. We are welcome.
Absolutely,
people, you know,
absolutely.
As a whole, and shout out to all the entities that are, you know, doing things, collecting food and clothes, and toiletries, and you know, and even meeting them when they come over. You know, from some of our elected officials are doing it, and people making them, you know, showing them that they're welcome here, because that's one thing, you know, we want to do, and that's also welcome to strangers.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
Just wanted to make sure on that.
No, absolutely, yeah, no.
Because I didn't want nobody to, you know, hear anything different, because I know that's not your heart.
No, that's definitely not.
You know what I'm saying? Because we do have some people that are upset, but, you know, for the mayor to declare a state of emergency, and we know a state of emergencies went through NYCHA in 2018, and nothing gets done. So, I mean, to me, it's just you saying something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you have a lot of vacant apartments,
right?
Okay, throughout New York City, and nice, really nice buildings at that, and NYCHA's holding apartments.
Absolutely,
you know, vacant apartments. So you know, there are people. We do have a homeless crisis. Yes, we have some migrants coming in. You know, some people call them refugees. You know, it's all long as it's a good word. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Call them something good. You know, they are human beings.
Absolutely,
want to be able to house them. You know, and hopefully some of the churches are opening their doors, you know, because those pews can become beds.
Right.
You know, so that's another thing. So, you know, it's doable. A lot of churches have halls, you know, like a church hall where they do things. You know, you can house people down there. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we can get this done. But all of those vacant apartments really should be released.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because people are living in shelters for many months, sometimes years. You know what I'm saying? And then to even go out and wind up in a studio or something like that.
Right.
It's like having a kitchenette in a sense, you know, but really need to build more affordable housing, yes.
Yep.
And
Permanent.
yeah.
Permanent housing.
And NYCHA definitely needs to loosen up those apartments that they are holding, and also loosen up those apartments that some resident council presidents have as their office, because that is an apartment. That should not be an office. So I'm saying that again, and I will keep saying that. So once again, we welcome our guest, Kim Tyre. She is in the building. And can we hear from our intern? You want to say something, hon? Say something, hello or something? Okay, it's good to see you here again with us. Okay?
Absolutely.
And she was here on time. She got here before.
Got here
all of
before
us.
me too.
Yep, she was here before all us. So we're gonna segue into our guest, Kim Tyre, who is no stranger to the show. That's why it is the return of Kim Tyre.
Right.
She has also, she's always, one of our viewers, and even if we're running late, like, is there a show? She be DMing us or texting us. Is there a show today? Like, she's really a dedicated viewer. I don't want to call her a fan. We don't look at you all as fans. We look at you all as family.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely.
Kim, please reintroduce yourself to the people and tell us a little bit about yourself before we start interviewing you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly Tyre. I'm glad to be here again with you all. Well, I'm a single mom of 4. I'm also an educational warrior, housing warrior. I'm also a graduate student, amongst many other things.
Yes.
Okay. So, what development are you from, and can you tell us some of the issues in your development?
I'm from the Jefferson Development in East Harlem, Spanish Harlem, and the issue that I have been facing with the last week has been the toilet issue, a recurring toilet issue in my apartment.
Wow, and I just want to say, when you sent me the text and I saw that, you see a lot of things in this when you do this work, but that was one of those shocking scenarios that residents go through, and it's just a shame and just unacceptable.
How long you had to wait for?
I had to wait
without a toilet, right? For what?
I had to wait for a day and a half this go round, but the last first incident with the toilet situation, I was 5 days without a toilet.
Wow, 5 days. Okay, how does that work?
Yeah, that's unimaginable.
Tell me, how does that work?
And I called the manager. I called the, I believe in following the proper protocols, calling the 718 number, calling the manager, getting a ticket, calling the management office. And the last management, she literally went home and she left me without a toilet, and I just don't quite understand how they phantomly can just go home and leave you without a toilet. And it was over the weekend at that.
I don't even know how you can, how can, I mean, I don't even know what to say. It's unimaginable.
So, I mean, we have to get into it. So you didn't have a toilet. You had to use the bathroom. What you had to do? How did you do it?
Luckily, I have friends that I can reach out to that live directly across the street in the Johnson development houses, but who wants the inconvenience of friends
you had to,
all the way to go to the bathroom every time? And it just seems like you have to go to the bathroom more often than not when you don't have your own facility as a toilet.
I don't even know what to say to that.
That's a shame.
That is criminal. Anyone would have to go through that. And you have kids, right? So your kids had to go through all this as well and go to the neighbor's house to go to the bathroom?
Yes.
I'm speechless. And it doesn't happen, but I feel for you. You know what I'm saying? But and it's unfortunate that a story like that is just not isolated.
No, it's not.
And it's common in NYCHA.
And it actually started happening in 2016 because I've been in my apartment since 2001. But it actually started getting unlivable in 2016. I had a gas explosion in my house, which set it all off. I went to the laundry and came back to my apartment, and everyone, because I live in a small building. I live in a seven unit building with 28 apartments. And it started then in 2016 when I had to go. I went to the laundry and I came back and there was a gas explosion in my apartment. Everyone in my building was in my apartment regarding the gas explosion. And then subsequently on from that, it just kept on going out of control. One thing led to another. Then it went from that to bed bug infestation. I don't like to tell people about that, but it went to that. Then in 2021, it went to without a stove.
Okay. Yeah.
And I remember that. I remember that whole process of you having several stoves in your house being sent to you, and none of them were working. I mean, I remember these calls. It's just, can you talk to that? Because it's just unbelievable.
How many's in the house now? Is it more than one?
No, at this point in time, there's only one stove because I got up enough strength and energy, God willing, to sit the stove downstairs in the hallway and reached out to all the political officials to let them know, to just ask them a question. Do you have a stove part of your living room decor? Because it was getting to the point where they would just bring a stove and leave the other one there. And my question is, when you bring a stove, take the other one out, old one out.
Exactly.
You know, and it got so bad that I caught them taking out one stove and turning around and going up the ramp that we have for the disability people and bringing that same stove that they took out back into me, you know. And I got videos of them on camera taking the same stove out and bringing me the same one back in.
I just want to repeat that because that sounds insane. That they would bring you. I mean, what do they think we are? That they would bring you back the same stove that was broke
And leave stoves.
and leave stoves. I mean, what kind of madness is that?
Like that's a storage
Right.
place. And that's her apartment.
My apartment is on the corner of 3rd Avenue, so some windows face the corner of 3rd Avenue and some face the courtyard. So I went to my son's room and I took a picture and video camera of them bringing me the same stove that they just took out. And I asked them about it, and I called it to their attention, and they wanted to, you know, brush me off. And I was like, no, y'all just brought me that same stove y'all took out.
Wow.
You know. I mean, people should be going to jail, losing their jobs. I mean, that's just, I don't even know what to say to that. That's just unbelievable.
I'm sorry that you're going through this, but I'm just glad that, you know, you are an ally, you an activist, organizer, you fight for the rights of not just yourself, but your neighbors, you know, the colleagues in the struggle. Like, we all in the struggle together. Like, we've marched together, we've been in press conference together, have been in meetings together. So Kim is definitely down for the cause. But I want to segue, we're going to rest in NYCHA, but I want to segue into education. I can't put the clip up today, but I did show it on social media. The clip of literally begging the mayor to put back the funding, you know, that he budget cuts. So can you talk about that? Can you talk about your experience? So you have met the Mayor Adams, you met him. You also mentioned that he told you, grabbed your hand and told you to pray. Like, tell us all of this, and what do you think about him, like, from education, because he is an education advocate and a housing advocate. So please tell us about that and that experience. That footage, you got over 1,000 views on IG. So you getting there, Kim. I don't know what it is today. I'm gonna look, but tell us about it.
I'm part of an organization called AQE. They call Alliance for Quality Education. And I've been affiliated with that organization since about 2010-ish. And what they do is they advocate for school funding, all things related to education and education and funding. And from there, I went to the CEC. That's the Community Education Council for District 4, which is my district, El Barrio, Spanish Harlem. So what I did there was we was on the committee to talk about education reform and how we would like to see education for our community and so forth and so on. From there, I would always, in the group meetings, I would always talk about the budget. My topic was always concerned with the budget, and things all look nice, but if we don't have the budget to do it, it's very difficult and nearly impossible. So that's where it started. Then some kind of way, the People's Plan of New York City was doing a campaign, and they literally, all the comrades in education they said, we're gonna get Kim, because Kim is not afraid to ask the questions that need to be asked. Kim's not afraid to make people feel uncomfortable.
Right.
So with that being said, they said, Kim, they called me out in the middle of the day and said, Kim, we need you to go here. And they know Kim is the type of person that is going to show up and show out at all times.
Right.
Wait,
And
Wow.
so I know you called me once to actually go in front of the mayor's house in Brooklyn. I remember the cops showed up too and made us leave. And technically his house in Brooklyn, that's a question in and of itself. So can you talk about y'all following the mayor around and letting them know directly how y'all feel and how all that's been working out?
Okay, so the People's Plan has a campaign, and they literally get the mayor's schedule on a daily basis, and they ask people who is willing and able to go to these detailed locations to meet and greet the mayor. So once again, they needed a person of color and a person who was not afraid to ask the questions. So with that being said, they picked me. So that's what I did. I spent all summer long, 2022, detailing the mayor. Literally everywhere he went, I would be there.
And can you say you told us you got a response, when you was asking about the money and the kids' education, and what did the mayor say to you?
At first, he appears, when I got to really meet him up close, live and close and all, he's very arrogant. He needs to humble himself because he is the leader.
Say that again.
He is very arrogant, and he needs to humble himself because he's there for the people,
Right.
the people of the city of New York. He's not there for all the swagger or the photo ops. He's there to service the people. So getting back to when I met him, the first encounter, I reached out my hand and I said, "Won't you pray with me?" Because I know his thing is he likes to pray and he uses Jesus, and in my opinion, he uses it in the wrong context. So with that being,
Go on,
So
keep going.
with that being said, I just reached out my hands to him and I asked him to pray with me. But he didn't know that this is not what I meant when in my prayer. And when we was in prayer, I held his hands and I said, "I pray that you give us back, reallocate our $469 million to our 1.1 million school children here in the city of New York."
Powerful.
And what then? So after this, did he have a response? Or was he shocked? I mean, what happened?
He was really shocked and he looked dumbfounded, to be honest. He looked real dumbfounded because that's not what he was expecting from me.
Wow.
In general, he wasn't expecting that. I caught him totally off guard.
And you now the footage, I've seen that picture with y'all. I mean, you sent me that. And the one when you met him and you were asking about the funding and his comment, what did he say back to you when he was going to his car, asking for the funding? Remember what he said?
We met him at opportunity was we met him at the Schomburg Library on 131st Street and Lenox Avenue. He was going to do some kind of something within the Schomburg Library, and I'm glad I had the opportunity prior to that to meet the granddaughter or great-granddaughter of Arturo Schomburg. And she was very disappointed and felt that her grandfather was disrespected by the mayor going into the Schomburg to talk about things that didn't have anything, and yet and still he was cutting education, but he was going into her great-grandfather's library. So after the encounter with him, she went into the library and she said that she did not want him. He was not welcomed in her grandfather's library anymore because that's not what her grandfather intended when he initiated setup of the library.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. That's powerful.
And then when he came out from that evening, I was there again and I asked him, "Mr. Mayor Eric Adams, we want you to restore our $469 million to the school funding." And he simply went to his car, and I kept on reiterating the necessity for the $469 million for the 1.1 million school children.
And he had the nerve to say,
I heard what he said.
They'll be all right.
Yeah.
Kids
That's
will-
yeah. Say that.
kids will be all right. Something
He-
like that.
yeah.
They'll
He
be
said
all
the
right.
children will be fine.
Right.
And my thing is, no, the children will not be fine because you're cutting from the students that already have nothing to begin with. And if you're cutting from students who already have nothing to begin with, what do you think the outcome of that is going to be?
Right.
100 grand.
And as a parent, I'm outraged because I see the system. The school system right now is in terrible shape, and has been worse after the pandemic. And so we need more money and more services because the kids are suffering. So to cut money at this particular point in time is crazy.
Yeah. All other funding is else. And I want to also ask you have another comrade because you sent me two, and I was appalled when the lady was saying that she's from and her child goes to such and such school, and his response was, "I have kids. I have a kid too." That was just so. Now, who is that? Your comrade?
That's one of my comrades. I believe that was Marva Schomburg.
Shout out to her.
And the sad and disgraceful part of this, for me personally, is the fact that you're privatizing. You don't have no stands on public housing, and then you're privatizing private housing, but you don't have a stance, and then you're taking away our education. So what are we going to do? What are our children going to do? They're going to be homeless and dumb. So
Right.
That is just a horrible combination of to be homeless and dumb.
Right.
And just to put it, the icing on it, to put it a little bit more further, is that. What is this? You are a black man. You are doing this to the black community that already don't have nothing. And my mother always taught me, without education, you are nothing.
Yep.
You are nothing. And then you say that you're dyslexic. You're cutting from the dyslexic program. You're cutting from the restorative justices program. How are you going to end the gun violence if you're cutting from restorative programs that are sitting down with people to resolve the issues, to try to solve the issue?
There's a saying,
Right.
skin folk, always kinfolk.
And
That's a saying. That's a saying that's been said.
Yep.
That's something that we have seen there and other people that get positions of authority and power, and they just forget who they are. They forget of our struggle, as black and brown people. Education. There was a time that we were unable and we weren't even allowed to read. So you're going to cut education. There's an attack on, not here, but in this country, on our right to vote. There was a time when black people couldn't vote, women couldn't vote. You know what I'm saying? And just to see things happening to us in our lifetime that people have fought and shed blood. You know what I mean? And, all of the people that we're standing on their shoulders, because we wouldn't be activists and organizers if it wasn't for the people. For us.
Absolutely.
They taught us how to do it. We're not trying to say we're doing anything better. We're modeling, and maybe we might be doing things different a little bit because of technology and social media, but we stand on the shoulders of those people. So it's just horrible.
And if you want to stop crime, one of the best ways to stop crime is for our kids to be educated, and so they can move on and get good jobs and live a good life. So you can't just say we're anti-crime and then take money away from education. That's ridiculous. You're going to lead to more crime if folks are not educated and can't get a job and take care of themselves. It's going to be, it's going to be the same thing.
I want to chat real quick. I'm trying to pull that up. As some of y'all know, I used to work in NYPD. They're not hurting for nothing. They're not hurting for funding, and funding them, and people don't realize they get federal funding as well. You have people look the system with overtime and so forth. You have officers sitting and doing clerical work when they should be out in the field working in the streets, and you can literally hire 2 police administrative aides on that salary. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of abuse in NYPD, and there's a lot of wasted funding. So they don't, some of that money, if you want to pull from anything, take from that budget. You don't take from education. But you know what? The people elected a cop. What they
Right.
did, they elected a cop. Let me jump into the chat, and then you could. Esther says, but he would fund police for stopping frisk. Maria just put some hundreds bullseye, so I guess that's for something I said. I hope, I don't know. Just showed up, so maybe. Maria has said, I have had people that were in my neighborhood got education, and now that they have a college degree, come back to the community. Yeah, that happens.
That happens, yeah.
Maria says, another corporate politician, yeah. Esther says, calling a spade a spade. Maria says, we mayor. Yep, that's true. Else? Esther wrote literacy, yeah. All the things that can help empower Black and brown people is being taken from them. And then the things that can stop and hinder them, you're funding, which is the police.
Right.
You're funding them. So it's like, what are you doing? You really are harming people of color. Because when you look in the prison system, in the prison industrial complex, there.
Right.
Who's there? Who's upstate, up top? From the it's our people.
Absolutely.
It's our people in there with slave wages and just being brutalized and treated all kinds of ways. I've been watching on Netflix what is it, Orange is the New Black. It's done. But I never really got to watch it, so I think I'm in season 5 now or 4. But it was times, and this is fictional, but it's also some things that are real, right? And it's times I'm watching that and I'm literally in tears.
Right.
It's some of the things, like they're doing and rape and all that crazy
Sure.
stuff, abusing as if they nobody and they're human beings.
Right.
Go ahead, Stan.
And I would just say, follow the money. When you are an elected official and you're taking money from real estate developers and such, then your priorities are going to be that. And that's why the priorities are not for affordable housing. That's why the priorities are really not for education. The priority is going to be, taking care of those people that took care of you and put you in office. So always follow the money, and you find out where the priorities are going to be for these elected officials. And it's not for us. It's not for us. Now, go ahead.
No, go.
So I know, swinging you back to some of the nights and stuff. One of the things that really impressed me about Kim is that she's not paying. She's on a rent strike, and I want folks who are watching the show to know, if you are in an uninhabitable apartment, you have the right to withhold your rent. As long as you have that rent in escrow, then you are within your rights. So, Kim, do you talk a little bit about your decision to do that, and what kind of message would you want to give to other NYCHA residents, who may be afraid to do that, to follow your example?
First, I would tell you to do it responsibly. Hold on.
Amen to that. That's
Yes.
right. Tell them.
Yes.
Do it. Number one, do it responsibly. The normal amount of rent that you pay every month, hold it back, but put it in a money order, put it in an escrow account, and make sure that you have it when they call for it in any event. But I took it upon myself. I wouldn't normally do such thing of that, but I took it upon myself to just go out on in faith and do it, and let my apartment speak for itself when they came to ask. And I did it, and it's been so long now, I don't even remember since the last time I actually paid the rent, but I have all of it for them when they come asking for it.
And I guess for those who, I know I spoke to a lot of residents, and sometimes there's fear, to do something like that. You might be retaliated or kicked out or what have you. But you've been doing this for a while, and you're still in your apartment. So can you speak to not being afraid to step up?
I know it's a scary thing to do, to literally stop paying your rent, but you need to. I feel that it's 500,000 of us. So when I did it, it was only just me taking a stance, and they could have just literally put me and myself and my family on the curb. But with that being said, I said, I'm going to go and do this because this, I'm finding out now that this is a capitalistic society, and everything is profits over people. So I said to myself, Kim, they could put you out in the street, but this is something that you're going to do. You're going to take a stance and you're going to set precedents for those that come after you. But NYCHA residents, you have the power. I believe we have the power. If enough of us, out of the 500,000 of us, if we stopped, I really, really believe that we would get changes and we would shut it down. We can shut it down if we stop paying and hold our rent. And it's within our rights. As I'm speaking to the attorneys and everything, it's within our right to do it because we don't have repairs. And I'm not a lawyer, but it's a contractual agreement between the management office and you. They supposed to give you services and go up on your rent. And rent is just be going up as time goes along. So it's a contracted agreement between you and your management office. So it's within your right to do so. And we should not be afraid because they're not afraid of us. So why should we be afraid of them? And I think that's what the thing is. We are scared of them, but they're not scared of us. And I'm here to tell you not to be afraid of NYCHA, okay? Because NYCHA is just an entity. We are the people, and the people can shut it down. We can shut it down.
Go Cam.
And we need to take some lessons from the educational people, because when it comes to your child's education, you'll go by any means necessary, and that's what we have done with education. We have gotten front and center up in the mayor's face, in his mansion, in his home, everywhere he went. We were detailed, and we followed and literally detailed him, and we got him to respond. We made him feel uncomfortable, because I'm tired of being uncomfortable, and I know that 500,000 of us residents are tired of being uncomfortable.
Preach, Cam, preach. Where's the collection plate? She preaching today.
Can you imagine if we did that?
Yeah. I want to piggyback on, what you said, and the key thing she said is do it responsible. Do it responsible. So that's very important. So we were organizing in 2019, and the option was rent strike, residents of Isaac at Homes, rent strike, or HP action. And collectively decided on the HP action, Housing Parts lawsuit, because everybody was not comfortable. We wanted to make an impact, so we didn't want some doing the rent strike, some doing the HP action. So we just collectively, and we got to respect that, because we did that collectively. But, so that's another option. I just want to tell people, you don't want to rent strike, take housing to court, take NYCHA to court. You don't need an attorney. Go there. Make sure you got to list your ticket numbers and issues in your apartment. Go with your pictures. They're probably not going to take it unless you got copies to add it into your case. But if you don't need a lawyer to file that lawsuit. And that's what we need, more people suing NYCHA for repairs, because it is a contract when you're paying rent, paying for services, not just paying to be in that apartment. You're paying for hot and cold water. You're paying for, habitable conditions. You're paying for lights to be on, not to be off, and not to be cold in the winter. Like, residents in Holmes Towers, we had like a day, but the residents in Holmes Towers, and there's a particular side of the building, it's not the whole building, they were without heat for several days. And I did visitation, and the apartments were cold. I'm visiting, and it's freezing in there. Yeah. And they got to sleep through that. Yeah. And this is what forces people to space heaters, use their oven for heat. And you can't blame them, because you're cold. I sat there and I was cold in the living room. And then we went through the house. The bedrooms were colder.
I've seen that
where
too.
They got to sleep at. Yep. And these are seniors that need, older people. I'm up there in age. I'm not a senior yet. I don't know. They consider my age. I'm 55. I don't know if that's not a senior yet, but I need heat. You know what I'm saying? I need hot water. It's therapeutic because I'm disabled. I need that for my body in the morning to get going. So when I don't have hot water, I know how I feel, so I can imagine what they feel like. And I know what it feels like to be cold trying to go to sleep. Uncomfortable to be layered up, and it doesn't work for your body.
Absolutely.
They're making people even sicker. NYCHA's literally making people sick. But I just wanted to, let people know that what Kim is doing, you can do, or you could do another way, and also reach out to your elected officials. Put them to work. They work for you.
But I
Not the
also
other way
want to,
around.
but I also want to say, do something. Pick one of those options.
Right.
Pick one of those options, because to sit and do nothing, you're part of the problem.
Don't suffer in silence.
And then can you speak to the response of the elected officials? I know some elected officials are aware of what's happened with you. And
Say names if you want.
yeah. I
If you
suggest
want.
if you want, but you gotta let folks know what these elected officials are and are not doing.
Well, I'll start off with Diana Ayala. She is doing absolutely nothing, nada, like they say in Spanish, nothing. She
yeah.
sent me
A constituent.
I'm her constituent, and she sent me a long, lengthy email with a highlighted yellow at that, like I was ignorant, I was dumb, and I was worthless. And I'm looking for that email to take to court with me to show the judge, to let her know that she is my city official in my district and I'm her constituent. And she literally blamed me for the problem and stated that I had too much possessions, which had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with her doing nothing.
Has she did a visitation to your home?
She has done nothing.
But she hasn't even come to your home.
No.
So she's taking hearsay, I guess.
So I guess
From
she's
NYCHA.
taking hearsay
But it doesn't matter.
from NYCHA.
Please,
So
if
they
you can
blame
get-
you.
If you can get that letter, please send me a copy.
Oh, I
Send us a
sure
copy.
will, because it's
It's,
highlighted yellow. First, she gave me her personal commitment that she was going to look into what my situation was, and then her constituent office, she sent them a letter in highlighted yellow, and I took that as disrespectful
I would too.
and very ignorant of her to make that assumption, not even visiting and finding out for herself, or sending one in her constituent's office. She does absolutely nothing. She has an office on 116th Street and Park Avenue, and it's never open. And you go there 1,000 times, and it's not even open. It's closed. And she is supposed to service Harlem and South Bronx.
Yeah. One of the things we need too from our elected officials, especially us that live in NYCHA, or if you live in a Mitchell-Lama and you have issues with repairs, even private housing, wherever you live at, and you have issues with your apartment and you're paying your rent, our elected officials need to work on our behalf to get us rent abatement. Because people are living without gas for months. People are living without elevators and there's so many things people are living with, and they're paying full rent, and that's not how it works. And you can't really advocate for that rent. You can take them to court, and maybe you can get an abatement out of it. But our elected officials, that should be something they should be working on. Like Astoria houses.
Yeah, they had no gas months. And I think Mike Jannar is supposed that we actually submitted a bill that they would get some reimbursements. I don't think that bill passed. It just sort of died. And just speaking on the elected officials, as an organizer, we call them, and they really don't do nothing. I mean, you really gotta, call and email and do this and do that, and they really don't do nothing. But then you have the nerve to turn around and privatize and vote for the Preservation Trust, of which many of them don't even know really what it is, because we've been in conversation with some, and they don't really know. But you voted for it, but you don't really understand it, but you don't do the work when the residents call you, which is what your job is to do.
Yeah.
It's not good.
I'ma say, for me personally, and I wish that was everybody's. I don't know if that's going to be going forward, but I had Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney. I still have her till January. Very proactive, work with residents. Hey, Saundrea calls. She called. I have her number too. I don't call her. I deal with her office, but she calls me directly. Talks to me, and she works for us. She knows she works.
I second that.
That's another. That's
third
one
that.
person. Had former council member Ben Halos. I'm calling out the ones that have done the work with, paid for our attorneys through Take Root Justice. Started off with our lawsuit, and he's marched with us, the press conferences with us. I mean, he's just been there, like from letters to phone call. I mean, his office, if it isn't him, it's his office. So sometimes it doesn't have to be that elected official, long as they have a responsive constituent services. That's the key. You know what I mean? To get the things done. So I'm calling him out, former Councilman Kalos. Thank you. Thank you, Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney. Thank you, Julie Menon, our current council member that does a lot of work for us. Her Cameron, her director of services, excellent. And you know what? A lot of elected officials need to look if they're not doing that type of work. But that's the only ones I'm calling out because those are the ones that were there, and I know that were there for us. And I'll say Rebecca Seawright has showed up also. Assemblywoman was not our direct Assemblywoman, been at our presses and stuff like that too. But and I thank you to her too. And there was a few others, but I'm gonna leave it at that because those are the consistent. And that's what you need, people that's going to work and know they work for you and work with you and help resolve issues. I mean, we should not be electing these elected officials back in office, and they only come around for petitioning and for your vote, and you don't see them anymore. You can't give us a turkey. A turkey's not enough. You know what I'm saying? You can't give the seniors iPads and with the city iPads and the AC. That's not enough. You know what I'm saying? You got to come in these homes and see how people living. Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney went into apartments. She went into apartments.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
And I've seen it. Yep.
We also, and I'm gonna call out this guy, George Brown, Mr. George Brown. He moved out of Holmes Towers. He moved out because of the repairs and everything else. He just moved out. He's in Esplanade Gardens, so he's in a place. You know what I'm saying? But the point is, he had to leave because he needed an apartment and just to repair. He had enough. Guys, he's a laborer. He worked with labor unions, and God didn't deserve. He was happy down there. They wouldn't give him the extra room, the big, a full apartment, a 1-bedroom, and he was having issues constantly with repairs. So he finally. But everybody can't do that.
Right.
So that's the problem. A lot of people are stuck in public housing. It's not that people are poor or they don't have the money to move. Moving is expensive. Because when I moved from one building to another, I did not want to do that. My stuff had to be, my bedroom set had to be broke down. So it was with all and all that, everything. It was, and they damaged my glass a little bit. It was just a whole mess. But moving is expensive. It takes a lot. So it's not like everybody has the wherewithal, want to move, have the money. It's not about that. People can't. Everybody is not stuck in NYCHA, but you want to pay 30% of your income, and it's affordable. That's why a lot of us stay, even with the conditions. That's why there's over 100,000 people on a waiting list, even with all the stuff that they see on the news, all of the stuff that they see on Twitter and social media, people complaining, and they know how bad it is. People are still moving. I'm gonna call out East River houses. It's really. I campaigned over there. I was in tears, but people will move in there because people need a place to stay. So the city needs to really step up the way they treat private landlords, prosecute them, fine them crazy, heavy fines. Nobody's doing nothing with NYCHA. You know what I'm saying? The authority, because it's government. No, we got to remove that cloak of immunity.
We also gotta get a public advocate that's for the public, okay? Because Jamani Williams is not for the public.
Somebody else out. All right.
He's not for the public.
Okay.
Okay, and I would like to have that role as a public advocate, because in my understanding, a public advocate advocates for all things pertaining to the public library, public park, public housing. And I don't see him advocating for anything pertaining to the public. And I'm confused because I have met him and I have shouted him out about his inabilities to advocate for the public. And his baby mama wanna give me drama, and I didn't care because I was like, you're not, your husband or boyfriend or whomever is not advocating for public.
Wow. Okay, now, but you gotta call him because, It is upsetting. It is upsetting. Some of these big name politicians, or so-called progressive politicians, when you get in there, you change. I mean, I'm looking at a Tiffany Caban, has a big name. She voted for some things that were surprising. She voted for some private development, and it's like in Queens, it's like, well, why? You ran as a progressive. You were supposed to come in here and shake stuff up. So to go in there and do that, and also, I'm just call it like it is. You don't see him around. When you reach out.
What about AOC?
I mean, I'm gonna just call it like it is. I mean, I organize in Queens, and that's the call. Is that we're not seeing y'all enough. Yeah. We don't see AOC enough. We don't see Tiffany Caban enough. We don't see Julie Wan enough. We just don't. And I'm dealing with the residents, and these are your constituents. So if I'm calling on behalf of them, something should get done. I'm not trying to take your steam, but that's your job. And to this point, from my point of view, they haven't done it the way a Carolyn did. And that's just being honest. They're not as proactive, and they're just not doing it. So we're going to see now, as I know election time is coming back around, and so we're going to see
next year.
Right. So we're going to see y'all and these city council folks now, but it's been very silent for some of these big name folks who are sitting in these seats. They're not really doing what they're supposed to do.
All right, let me go to, go to the chat. Esther, call them out. Love it. Okay, Esther. Maria, the majority of these politicians change once they get in office. That's true. And it's like they lied.
But I can
probably lied.
But I can do say about AOC, she was at one point looking into getting
the Green New Deal.
The Green New Deal at one point, but I fell out of the loop on what transpired in that. But she was making it.
And I give her credit for that.
She was trying.
We're talking about now. Where is she at now?
Where she's at
because
where are you?
She's got a national voice, right? So if she says something, that's national news. So
they love her and they hate her.
Right. So
she got both sides.
I haven't really heard what her stance is on NYCHA. I haven't heard her come out for, against. I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard from Tiffany Caban really clearly, like, what is your position? So, silence is not enough. You can't sit there and be silent with this issue on the table right now.
He's still in office. Let me go right back to the chat, y'all, because I ain't finished that up. Maria says, moving is joke, especially for I can't move the furniture around like I used to.
Right.
Going out. Maria says, I visited a development and they had to compact the stuff all the way to the 9th floor and it's privatized. Can you say what
development is that?
Please. Gary says, make elected accountable, call them out at every chance, especially when you get me attention. Yeah. I think she's talking about the Maria. That's what I use in mornings like this morning, and I call center, never got the. That's crazy. And Esther, I don't know what it was for, but Esther said, hallelujah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's, this is what this is. This show is, we bring people on, especially, rather it's NYCHA or whatever it is, bring people on to give them a full vote. Mainstream media put the cameras in your face and, follow you around, go to your house, take some footage, and then they B-roll and they slice it up. And they might be for 20 minutes and aired. It might be a minute, if that, or 90 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's just not enough. And since we're calling out people, I'm not going to call out people. I'm just going to say these mainstream entities, y'all come out with your cameras and y'all do great work, and it's keeping y'all getting, y'all getting noticed, y'all doing this
winning
stuff.
Emmy Awards and such.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would say is for these entities, I'm not really going into the person, but the entities. Next time you show up doing a development and they don't have no gas, come with hot plates or something. Come with something. You know what I'm saying? That costs these networks nothing. They could write it off. Show up to these developments in need with something to give to the residents. That's what they should be doing, because you know what? Like Stan said, you get Emmys or that, you know, that person or the people, they're getting recognized, they're getting famous, the network is spinning, and people are, and, you know, and they're learning, and that's good. You're getting it out, and you're calling, you know, all the stuff you do is good, but you're exploiting the people also. You understand? For money, profit in that. Because if you're not coming with nothing for them, we have our own media, not just One Night. We have our phones.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We have our phones, and you know, it's people that do mutual aid that gives out
Sure.
heaters and different things. These are regular people, and they don't have the billions and millions like the entity. Like I said, I'm calling out the networks that's getting money off, you know, getting famous and all of this off the people, off the pain of the people. You got to do right. You can't show up with people that haven't had gas, and you showing up around Thanksgiving. It looks really good, and it's a good story. You sensationalize it, but you have no hot plate. You have no food for them. No, that gotta stop.
Yeah, no.
That gotta stop.
Well, then Kim brought out the call outs. We got Kim Tyre here. She's bringing us all
I
out.
don't call out people. You know, I'm calling out the networks.
Right. No, that's right.
Everybody know the networks. I ain't got to call out
Right,
nobody.
no,
because
that's
it's not,
right.
It's not personal. I have relationships with people that are in
Yeah,
mainstream media. I'm not calling them, but they're bosses, they're producers. You know, the network has the money. So I'm putting this in the atmosphere. So maybe the next time somebody don't have no gas, y'all showing up with a truck. We got hot plates for everybody. Do an Oprah, okay? Because then you look good because you're doing really good work. That's all I want to say.
Okay.
Make sure the hot plates work.
Yeah. Well, they ain't nice. I'm sure they'll work. Or the heaters. You know, I mean, come on. Blankets. I mean, it's so much people. No, it's just too much. You know that's coming around.
Well, yeah, we're about to get cold. We're about to go into it now. And the same buildings that didn't have no heat last year are not gonna have heat again. We're gonna go do the same thing that we go do every winter, and it's just, you know, I dread it. I dread it when it starts getting cold. You know, the phone calls are gonna come.
We were with the compliance unit on Friday. Because the Homeless Coalition, we meet with the compliance unit, Red, I believe that's with him every other week. And we eventually scale down to once a month, and that's part of the court case. You know, we're talking about the board, stuff like that. But NYCHA is just not proactive. I really don't know who's running what. I know there's names. I know these people are figures. But, I mean, where's your common sense, honestly? You know when winter's coming. It's not about Groundhog Day and all that stuff. You know when the winter's coming. And if there's issues with boilers, especially if you had an issue last year, you're supposed to be working on that, like March and April.
Yeah, February.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying you need to be working on that.
Yes.
You can't be working on our boilers in the midst of the winter.
Right.
It's just stupid.
Right.
Just like the elevators. If they supposed to be replaced every 20 years, 25, might be 25, 30 for developments, okay, then you need to be rehabbing and replacing those elevators ahead of time before they break. Life with everything, right?
To Saundra's point about the elevator, I had a horrible experience the other day with this lady. She's 72 years old, walking up the flight of stairs. We only have one elevator, unacceptable. And I got on the phone immediately, and I called, later for calling the call center. I said, escalate this ticket up to the mayor's office now, because he's saying he's getting things done. So get stuff done. Get stuff done. Because you say you're getting stuff done in front of your podium, get it done. Because she's 72 years old, walking up 5 flights of stairs. And I believe that's how my other tenant resident died in our building. One elevator. And then the sad part is she's walking up the stairs and there's no lights. I thought it was only on my floor because I'm on the second floor. Little Behold having a conversation with her because I took it upon myself to be the building captain of 210 East 115th Street, because there's nothing in there but seniors. And I love my seniors and I love people in my building. So I took it upon myself to call 311 and escalate the ticket, because calling the management office, forget it. It's just a full-time job that you're getting nowhere with. So I don't do it anymore. I call above and beyond people, because that the management office
Sure.
is useless.
Sure.
Fortunate.
Sure.
Thank you for that work you and telling people building and everything. Our elected officials, everybody needs to do better, and we really need to managers. I know Resident Management Corp is people a lot of talk about that, wanting it and council to be and that's going to be different. Some developments because it's not going to be on board with it, but even if we got to get rid of our managers, like on the phone with the not federal monitor, what else saying? Help me, compliance.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to give it to me, y'all. We brought up the manager and how she talks to people. She's, just condescending. And, one time I had a conversation with her, and the way she was about, putting the flyers up or wanting to use the courtyard to feed, and just the way she was talking to me, I said, you know what? Her name is Ada George. She's the property manager for Towers and Isaac Houses. So she has 2 developments, 5 buildings. What I said to her was, you know what? You are good. You are a good overseer. Because that's the way it felt. The way she's darker than me. I don't know where she's from. She has an accent. Darker than me. And she don't see me. She don't see us. And so he said that he's been getting positive things about her. But see, I don't know who he's talking to, but a petition could resolve that, because there's so many people that have complaint about this woman. Okay. And it's just absurd. Some people say they H her. I don't use that word. They say they H her. So I know what that means. It ends with I don't like to use that word. But that's how bad that she is with people. And I'm like, we need to get rid of some of them. They need to be replaced. And that shows the power in the people. So do your petitions, get together with your residents and file a petition. And they can look into it too. Compliance unit, they don't, if you flag them, the manager, they can, get some things done or help escalate things. I just wanted to share that, because how's your manager?
Our manager, the assistant manager, is Indian, and he doesn't know very much English, and he has a very unprofessional tendencies to hang up on residents when they call to have a conversation with him. And I recently had to have a conversation with him because I had a big rat in my apartment, and I had to call him to ask him, I asked him 3 questions. 1, do you have a rat running in your apartment? And secondly, said no. And I said, so should I have a rat running in my apartment? He said no. So I said, so how are we going to resolve this rat situation? And he hung up the phone on me, and I thought that was very unprofessional. And I called him back and I said, Mr. So-and-so, Dan, I believe his name is. I said, can I have the spelling of your name and all of that? And from him to the bottom to the clerk, they're all rude and disrespectful. Ms. Green, Ms. Johnson, Ms. Parker, they're all disrespectful.
And I want to say that everybody that works in those offices has an email. So if you get their first name and they're supposed to give you their name, you work for the public, so you can't deny me your name. So if you put a dot .gov, you have the email. And I think we all need to be doing that, because in Ravenswood, they told this resident that lead is not an emergency. And so she's like, I have lead confirmed in my apartment, and I'm in the office. And they said to me, well, we can't talk to you, which is against the law, I believe. You can't tell a resident that she can't have an advocate. That's like telling a resident you can't have a lawyer. You can have anybody you want. So that seems to me to be is actually infringing on her rights to say, well, no, this person can't hear what I'm saying to you. But that kind of stuff is ridiculous. Folks should be getting fired. How are you going to tell somebody that has a 1 or 2 year old baby in a house that lead is not an emergency? And this person still has not been relocated, and it just goes on and on. There has to be something done with these management offices. It's just, It's insane.
And I just want to correct a little bit. Dan said first name dot last name.
Right, exactly. First
'Cause I
name
don't
dot
want y'all-
last.
Yeah,
Right.
Stan is on it, but I just want to give him that add that dot first and last name.
Absolutely. Or and to you, they work for you, not the other way around.
I believe the assistant superintendent Isaac and Holmes told a resident his name. A resident. He said JR. JR. He gave his initials. She know who he is now.
Right.
But I could even. But yeah, that's like, why would you give? Name is Juan Rivera. Why would you tell somebody JR? So I could. It's Coleman, right? I'm not gonna say her name, but he told her JR. That's. But we reached our time, so final words from you, Kim. And we traveled, didn't we travel, Kim? Our travel was like, oh my gosh.
My final words will be for the NYCHA residents, all 500,000 of them, stand up and fight back, but really stand up and fight back, show up and show out. If you can't come to in the streets, you can write letters, you can call your city officials, you can write letters, you can call, you can go out and advocate in the public, in the streets, you can make phone calls, you can do, but doing nothing, telling your neighbor about the problem and not being part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Wow. I don't know. That's a mic drop there. I don't know what I can say after that. But wow.
Gotta say something.
Well, I'll just say Kim has been an inspiration. As many NYCHA residents who fight, you know, I just gotta take my hat off because it's so. And I'm on the phones and talking to these managing offices, and the level of frustration is mind-boggling. So to be able to do that and then still advocate and then still fight and then take on other causes like education on top of the NYCHA fight is amazing. So I want to commend you for your community organizing work, you know, and others got to step up too. If we had 400,000 Kim Tyre's and Saundrea Coleman's and all the other leaders that are out there, then this thing will be different.
And Stan Morris.
Yeah, and even for those who don't live right, even for those who don't live in NYCHA, right? For those who don't live, right? I mean, all those alumni, people. You know, we all. You may lose your job, and you may have to be applying to go back to live in NYCHA. You never know what's going to happen.
And
you know,
they show up for family days.
Right.
Come back for family
Right.
days.
So we gotta all be involved in this fight. Lose, you know, but it's a real tough fight that we're fighting against a criminal entity with criminal, in my mind, election officials who are down with the program. You know, so we got a lot to fight against, and we need to keep this fight going.
I'm gonna give you some too, Stan. I'm gonna give you some. So once again, thank you so much, Kim, for coming back to the show. We rode out last time together. We rode out this time together, but we had some issues. The R train was not stopping at the stop. We rode down, and Kim got put us on a train that was taking us to the Bronx. We didn't get there though. It was going the wrong way. She said, "Go to 34." I said, "Okay, I'm following Kim." And then I said, "No, we going back. We're gonna get that E. Rode that E all the way to what's that, Roosevelt,
Right.
Heights, and then the R. Once we got down the stairs, the R came like that, and then we made it here.
Absolutely.
So thank you for journeying with me, and Stan for being patient, and our intern, although everybody wasn't on time today. But I'm just gonna say that, right? Everybody wasn't on time. So we got to do better, but at least it wasn't a bad wait. But
Right.
we made it. You know, want to try to be more consistent and here when we can. But you know, we do have to take off some days too, Sundays and things from holidays too. Some things come up, right?
Sure.
So next week we'll have New York State Assembly Democrat nominee, Alex Morris, for the 73rd Assembly District. So he's going to come on. So this would be probably our first having somebody running for assembly coming on, which is good, and should be a good show.
Absolutely.
So, get your questions ready for Stan.
Taking any real estate money.
Our people, our viewership. Get your questions ready. I believe I gotta see lines, but I know the 73rd. I don't think he has any NYCHA, but that's okay because he's old. He's
Absolutely.
Stuff like that, and he knows the work that we do, stuff like that. And I know him. I know his mom. His mother and I serve on community.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's cool. But yeah, so we are happy. We're thankful for y'all journeying with us. We were a little late, little late today, but we here. We made it, and thank you all for the participation in the chat. Appreciate you all. Share the show if you haven't. One Night or One People, and click like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is one NYCHA TV at gmail.com. Excuse me, One Night TV and our email is onenYCHA at gmail.com. So it's the same thing. So One NYCHA TV is on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. Want to email us, and also the Homes Access Coalition is having an entrepreneurship and empowerment expo. Kim is going to have a table. One NYCHA will have a table. Stan will be there. If you have a business, something you want to showcase, I can get you in and get you a table for that. And also, anybody in the city that does the paparazzi jury, I'm going to allow one person to come and do the business there. So if you do paparazzi, that $5 jury, come through, hit me up, DM me.
I got a friend.
Okay, please put me in touch with
there
your
you
friend.
go.
Whoever gets in touch with me first, they can have a table and you can make your money that day. Because that $5 jury, people love it. So One Night to One People.
One Night to One People.
One Night to One People.